Hey, I'm here with a list of demands. Follow the show wherever you listen. Subscribe, share, like, and comment on the show on YouTube. Follow any and all of my social media as well. All of the links are in the description. And finally, if you're a real fan, which most of you aren't, head on over to buymeacoffee.com, use the link in my description, and buy me a goddamn coffee. It supports the show, which is me. So you're supporting me. Now that you've successfully ignored that, go ahead and enjoy today's episode. Michigan home inspector face fucks a Tickle Me Elmo doll. Thank you guys for tuning in to the show today. Yes, you heard that right. This is a hot, very hot story. I'm not sure why our crooked news media isn't making a bigger deal out of something like this. Yes, a man whose job it is to inspect your home went in and decided to pleasure himself with a Tickle Me Elmo doll. Now, first of all, if your job is to go into a house and inspect, you got to make sure everything's up to code. You got to make sure the meters are right. There's no electrical hazards. Everything is good. Everything's up to date, right? You don't want ceiling beams to be bending or bowing, right? But you also don't want your children to play with a toy that hasn't came inside of. Okay? You don't want your kids to be playing with a toy that hasn't been sodomized by a grown man. Right? Am I right or am I wrong here? I mean, if you think about it, there's got to be plenty of dads out there that, mama is not in the mood and she hasn't been in a little while. Maybe the marriage, need a little spicing up. So they add a third party. They bring in the Barbie dolls and they rub the titties. You mean to tell me there's not dads out there that grab a Barbie doll that their child had just played with and all the clothes are off of it and they hadn't thought to themselves, you know what? I think I want to titty fuck this little doll. And that's what they do. They grab it, they put it right on their cock and they just rub it up and down. I don't think it's as uncommon as some people say. I'm not a father, and judging by the things that I'm saying right now, I probably wouldn't be a good one if a woman had a momentary lapse in judgment and allowed me to impregnate her. I don't know that I would be particularly good at being a dad, and it's tough. It's tough because you don't want to fuck your kids up, but, we all know men in some capacity are sick, right? People are sick, but men, they're the ones who do some of the sickest, dirtiest shit. Now, I also have to look at it from this gentleman's perspective, okay? Being a home inspector is probably a pretty good job, right? It's a good job. Maybe you're part of a union. Maybe it pays the bills. You get insurance. You get time off. I'm sure it's great. It's not the hardest job in the world. But if you fuck up, you don't want to fuck up. You don't want to fuck things up because then the house could collapse. And then what are you going to have sex with? If all the houses that you were meant to inspect crumbled, then, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to pleasure yourself if you can't go into a stranger's home and sodomize a children's toy? Especially in Michigan. It's cold in Michigan. I don't know what the women are like out there. I don't know what the nightlife is in this particular area. I don't remember what part of Michigan it was, the town, the city, whatever. But we all know that a place like Michigan isn't really renowned for having a really sexually fueled environment. Not like Miami, right? If this story was in Miami or a Florida story, if this guy was in Florida, it'd be like, whatever. It'd be normal news. Oh, that guy so did that guy over there. That guy face fucked he stuck his dick in a, what are those things? Those ovens, those easy bake ovens. He stuck his dick in an easy bake oven. It's fine. That's, he'd probably get a promotion in Florida. But because this is Michigan and it's kind of the Midwest, there's a lot of, oh yeah, motherfuckers walking around, granola. People are worried. They're not used to it. But in a place like Miami or New York or Dallas or, one of these hot spots where things go down, nobody would even look at that guy. They'd say, oh, he'd probably long day at work, Home inspector isn't really the sexiest job there is, I mean, we all like porn, we all watch it, and anybody that has a job like a plumber or a mechanic or something that requires you to go to somebody's house and kind of, meet them and be cordial with them and then take care of whatever it is that needs taking care of. Porn is like the promised land. It's like best case scenario, where you can go in and it's a single woman or a woman whose husband isn't home and you can fuck them, right? You want to fuck them. But it's not realistic. It isn't necessarily realistic. Now, I do have a friend who is in the trades, and he told me that there's plenty of times where he shows up and, there might be a real sexy young thang or a MILF, right? And I mean, my buddy told me that he went in one time, he went to a house one time, and the woman answered the door in a towel. Answered the door in a towel. She was in the shower, and she came out in a towel, and that would be ideal for a guy like this, for a home inspector to come in and handle something like that. Kind of like that old Monday Night Football commercial with T.O. and that woman who had she had the towel on or whatever, and he's like, whoa, oh, you're ready for some football? And she jumps into his arms. That's like the same thing, but home inspector, it's not, you're not really going in there to fix things. Your job is it's just like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like you're there not really to provide a service. It's more of like maintenance. There's the word. It's like a maintenance call. You come in, they make sure the house is good, and they get out of there. You didn't really do anything in particular, right? In fact, you might actually be delivering bad news to them. Hey, your boiler is old and you got to get a new one, right? And now it's like, this wasn't something I was expecting. At least if you call an electrician over, they're like, this wiring system is shot and we got to go through it. You're like, okay, I was kind of expecting that. I understand. But when a home inspector comes in, it's like a tax collector, right? There's whatever happens on the other end isn't necessarily anything good, So I get it. I'm sure this guy is a decent enough guy. He was just horned up. He was horned up. He was bricked up in the middle of the day, and he didn't know what to do. How often? I mean, can you blame him? Can you blame him? There's so much to be horned up over all the time. You go on social media, you go on Instagram, and you can scroll, and there's endless amounts of pussy and ass and titties, like the best ones ever. Like the best of the best is just there all the time. You don't got to pay. You don't even have to look anything up. It's just there, ready to go. And we all know that it's very easy. It's very easy to get bricked up in the middle of the day, especially at your job, right? Especially if it's a job that you're not necessarily, you're not really into. Let's just say that. It's not serving your purpose. And if it's mundane, a job like this is fairly mundane. It's not as mundane as like an office job. Like if you're in an office, your dick's hard probably the whole time, right? You're just horny as fuck the whole time. If you're in a restaurant, if you're, any job is mundane, but the more mundane, I would say if you could make a scale, if you could make like a graph, right? The y-axis is level of horniness and the x-axis is level of boring job. I would think that the more boring, it would be like a downward slope, right? The more boring the job, the hornier you are. It'd be like a line where the high point is on the left and the low point is on the right, because as the job gets a little less mundane, the less horned up you are. Like somewhere in the middle might be where this guy is. Because at least it's a little different. You go somewhere else, you try, you go to different places. At least you're going to different places. You're looking for the same things, but at least the venue is a little different. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily think that it's the worst thing in the world for this guy. The family, of course, it's very bad for them. Very bad for them. Bad look for the gentleman. But it's not, I mean, is he going to lose his job for fucking a Tickle Me Elmo doll? Why are there even still Tickle Me Elmo dolls? I was a child, and I had a Tickle Me Elmo. I was born in 97, and I had one. He would stand up, and he'd dance, right? Maybe the ones nowadays are a little more provocative. That's what it was. He might have pressed the button by accident, and he started dancing, shaking that nice little red furry ass. Mine had a leather jacket on. You could take it off him, put it on him, and he would sing. He'd wear sunglasses. I don't know. Maybe the ones now are even, they're different. Maybe they're gender fluid. I mean, we don't know what Elmo is, right? I don't know if we ever knew. I don't know if we've ever said that Elmo is a man or a woman or anything like that. But with the current climate and how gender is looked at, it could have been, he could have been going through a dry spell, guys. A dry spell for men is a very scary thing. Very scary thing. It'll drive you to do anything. I mean, I was thinking of fucking a jar of peanut butter just the other day. I mean, it was looking at me. I was winking at the jar of peanut butter. I mean, that's what it is with men. Men, if they're if they're in a position where they're struggling with the ladies, they can't get, whatever. And this guy, I mean, he's no looker. Let's be honest. I mean, you can look up the news story and you can see the picture of him. He's no Brad Pitt. Okay, I'm sure he's got a little trouble. They didn't say anything about him having a family. I don't know if a family man fucks an Elmo doll in the mouth, but I mean, what I want to know was his thought process, right? He's kind of walking around in the basement, looking at the pipes. Oh, copper, okay, these look like they're new. All right, let's take a look at the heating setup. Okay, wow, Navy and nice. This is a new system. Okay, this was updated recently. Let's check out the boiler. All right, well, we got to go upstairs, check out the breakers. Oh, the breaker is in the kid's room closet. Okay, fine. And you go in there, and then he's like, well, wait a second. Hold on. Is that a Tickle Me Elmo doll? Bringing me back to my youth. I remember this one time when I was a kid, I humped an Elmo doll before I could get a hard dick. When I was a child, I remember dry humping my Elmo doll, and I don't know if that made me gay or straight, but either. And this is what this guy has to be thinking, right? He's probably thinking about this as he's going about his job, and he's like, you know what? I think those people, because the family members were home, the parents were home. I don't know about the kids, but the parents were home, and they couldn't believe it. They were like, what is this guy doing? And it got caught on video. It was caught on video, and, I might be getting the story a little mixed up. It might have been that they saw it after the fact, and they couldn't really, let's see if we can find it. I probably won't because it's gone. I should have came a little more prepared here. Okay. Michigan home inspector convicted after masturbating with client's doll. Okay, so he was arrested a while ago. Okay, so he's just now getting convicted. when Dodson pulled up the webcam alert, she saw Van Leuven, this is the guy, masturbating before picking up an Elmo doll off of the floor and appeared to pleasure himself with the doll. I just went blank at the time. My husband was staring at me from across the room and was like, "What's wrong?" He asked me repeatedly, and I couldn't even articulate what I was saying. Van Leuven was still inspecting the house when Oakland County investigators arrived at the scene. He claimed that he had moved the doll to inspect an electrical outlet, but confessed after learning about the camera in the nursery. The responding officer also reported that Van Leuven admitted to placing his penis in Elmo's mouth, in the doll's mouth, and apologized and said he was ashamed. You don't think anything can surprise you, and yet the disgusting ability of some people still manages to surprise me on this. Although indecent exposure is a misdemeanor in Michigan, Van Leuven faces up to 2 years in prison and a $2,000 fine when he's sentenced in December. Wow, so it was after the fact. So this guy's dedicated to his job. He jerked off, and then he looked at the Elmo doll and said, "It's time. It's time. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. I've always wanted to do it. I haven't done it since I was a kid. I'm going to fuck this Elmo doll." And he did it. And then the woman of the house saw it on the webcam, got a notification, and evidently called the police. And then he was still inspecting the house. I mean, that's dedication, guys. After you blow a load, I don't know about you, but after you blow a load, you want to relax, right? You want to sleep, especially when you blow a load at work. Blowing a load at work, I mean, that's tough. That's like eating a big lunch. That's like eating a big, heavy lunch. It's like, I brought 3 cheese tortellini for lunch. I'm going to eat that. And then you wash it down with a Coca-Cola or something. You know, you're like, you eat a piece of that cake in the cafeteria. You know, and now you're bloated, and the second half of the day just kind of drags, and you're tired and you're groggy. And, you know, I mean, ejaculating is like that times 1,000. So now you're going to do it at work? I mean, most people, when they jerk off and they jerk off to completion at work, they need to take the rest of the day out. They say that they came down with something, they just threw up in the bathroom. That's what they tell their boss, and then they head home. But this guy is dedicated. After you come in a child's toy, after you come inside of it, to go back and keep working, I mean, say what you want about this guy. He's dedicated, okay? He's dedicated, and he loves his job. He loves his job. I mean, what other job do you get the opportunity to walk into a children's nursery in a house, and just and have fun and do your thing? You know, I don't know. It's not normal, right? It's definitely not normal to do something like this, but it is normal to be a horned up son of a bitch in the middle of a work day. And I know that there are people out there who would go in the bathroom at work, lock the door, maybe it's a single stall, you work in a small place, and you get it out of you. You finish it, and you try your best to go back to work. You're not going to be solid, but you try, or you take the day out. Most people, they come, they reach their climax, they're going to take the rest of the day out. They're not worried about what's happening next. This guy, he knows. He knows where his bread and butter is at, and that's inspecting homes. That's inspecting homes, and he knows that he's got to put food on the table somehow. So he's not going to let his sexual urges, no matter how peculiar they are, no matter how strange his outlet is to get rid of them, he's not going to let that take away from his career. And it's commendable, guys. I mean, the guy, he's going to spend time in jail, most likely. You can't do that. You know, you can't do these things. But there's always a silver lining. I'm a big proponent that there's always a silver lining. There's always something. Even that story I told you guys on Monday, it was a shitty situation, but the silver lining was that I had a good story to tell you guys and a funny story that I can tell other people now. That's the silver. There's always a silver lining. And for this guy, if you're going to say there's 1,000 bad things to say about him, but if you're going to say one good thing, let it be that he's dedicated to his job. He's dedicated to his craft. I would be hard-pressed. I would like to see all the other guys in his home inspectors union. I would want to ask them, hey, if you went into somebody's home and they had a real sexy Elmo doll and you just couldn't help yourself, you just fuck it, and you come, are you going to go back to work? I would assume most of them would say no. They'd probably come in the thing and then leave. They'd go home, they'd say pass inspection, and they'd call the doctor, I'd call their boss and say, I think I came down with something, boss. I got to head home. I'm not sure what it is. And this guy didn't do that, and that's commendable. Now give me 2 seconds. I gotta open the window here because the light is getting dark. It's getting darker sooner now. So it's just reminding everybody that now is the time of year where the days are much shorter, the nights are much longer, and it's going to be dark and shitty out. Dark and shitty. Not shitty for me. I like it, but for some people it's dark and shitty. So give me 2 seconds. I'm going to be right back. Not cutting this either. Ah-ha-ha-ha. Now we got the natural light back for about, I don't know, hopefully the rest of this episode, because I hate doing this show when it's dark in here and the lights are off, because it just makes me look extra bald and extra old. Like, I'm 25 years old, and people, the more people I see are like, you're 25, it just puts in perspective in my mind. You know, all these years of just sleeping like shit and worrying about things, and my forehead just looks like a road map. My forehead looks like a map. Remember when you were in school, they taught you about the different types of maps, and the physical map was the one where you could see mountain ranges and valleys and all this shit. My head looks like a physical map. Okay, of Colorado or something, you know? I was at an open mic the other night, and my good buddy Mo Green, who's been on the show, he hosts it. And after my set, which was a dreadful set, I looked particularly shitty this day because I was exhausted. My eyes, I have these black circles under my eyes that will probably never go away. There's pictures of me as a kid with black circles under my eyes. And but this day I was particularly feeling like shit. I hadn't eaten. I was overtired, and I couldn't really. My words weren't coming out right. It was just a shitty set. It happens, but I had to go out and do it. And after it, Mo goes up and he's like, "Hey man, how old are you?" And I was like, 25. And he goes, "Wow, that's a hard life, motherfucker." Shit was funny. It was hilarious. But anyway, there's other fun stuff happening while we're in the same vein of, I guess, fucking children toys. We might as well bring up a huge siege of cocaine, 1,500 pounds of cocaine hidden in a baby wipe shipment. Okay, so there's a big shipment of baby wipes in Texas, obviously coming from Mexico, and there was just a big bundle of cocaine in there. 1,500 pounds, guys. That's a lot of booger sugar. Okay, that's a lot. Now, what I want to know is, do we think any of the baby wipes got slightly contaminated? Do we think that some of these babies are going to be crack babies because they're boofing cocaine? Do we think that it'll stunt some of their development, or will it just give them numb assholes? Will it give these children whose asses are getting still wiped, right? They're babies, right? Mostly it's babies who get their ass wiped. Okay, there's that. that's probably 80% of who's buying these things. The other percentage, the other 20% is probably a mix of women, right? They keep the baby wipes on them to keep their cha-cha nice and clean. And if that's the case, I mean, then for them, it might be better that there's some cocaine residue on that pussy because they're going to want to last a little while when they get a victim. What is this guy walking down the street with? Looks like bagpipes. But anyway, once, for ladies, it might be good, right? Because that's a thing, right? Putting coke on the clit. And I don't know. I don't do cocaine. I know, contrary to popular belief, because I'm always playing with my nose. But that's just a tick that I have as a child. I've always had it as a child. Rub my nose, play with my nose. People probably think, I look like... People probably think I do cocaine because of how much I play with my nose. But that's a thing, right? That, you put a little coke on your tongue and then you eat the pussy and the pussy's numb and you could just fuck it to death, right? So for ladies, it would be good. But for kids, probably not so much, I mean, boofing is a real thing. Boofing, I remember watching Mansers years ago, and there was this guy who had throat cancer, and he was an alcoholic, and he couldn't drink. He didn't, the doctors were like, no, your throat's fucked up. You got throat cancer. We're doing surgery on you. There's nothing, you can't drink. So I'm sorry, this wasn't Mansers. This was 1,000 Ways to Die. And he filled up like one of those hot water bags that your aunt has. She puts it on her stomach or her head or whatever the fuck women do with it. And, one of those old school red ones. The ones that look like you could fuck them, right? You put some water in it, you fuck them, and you slap it like an ass. It was like that, but it had like a tube attached to it. Because that's what the ladies back in the day, in the olden days, they'd take that tube and it'd be like a douche, They're washing the old punan. And this guy filled it with wine, and he asked his wife to kind of throw it into his asshole, and boof it. And he, they didn't know how much alcohol was actually going into his system, because it's not like you're drinking it, right? When you're drinking it, at least you have it, you're looking at it, you're like, oh, okay, I've had 2 of these, or I'm halfway done with this one, and you understand what's happening. But when you're getting alcohol siphoned into your asshole, it's a little tougher to gauge what's happening. So he died. He died of like alcohol poisoning or some shit, too much wine in the ass. But that's a real thing. Boofing is a real way to take drugs. Now, if these kids are going to be exposed to this type of thing, it's probably not good. It's probably not a good thing. I mean, daycares, they have the baby wipes, obviously mothers, preschools, places where there's going to be children, Now, that being said, I'm sure the people who run these things do their fair share of nose candy, right? To deal with a bunch of kids like that, you're going to want to. You're going to probably want to do something. You're going to have to take something, okay? Now, give me another minute because it's getting really dark in here. I'm going to have to just turn the lights on. I thought I'd be able to make it happen. Give me a second. What's this look like? Does this make it any better or no? All right, a little better. We just open the blinds in the other window. But I would think if you're going to deal with kids all day, you're going to want the other part of that shipment, that 1,500 pounds of cocaine. And especially now, it would come in handy, okay, because there is a shortage of Adderall. The FDA has come out and said that there is a shortage of Adderall. How the fuck are teachers going to deal with children? How are they going to deal with children? Think about how many... I think Adderall is the most widely used drug in the country. I think. I could be wrong. I feel like I read that somewhere. Don't quote me on it, or you can. I could care less. But I think it is one of the most used drugs in the country. I think it is. So many different people use it. Who uses it? Kids with ADHD, okay? people with ADHD, doesn't need to be kids, but people with ADHD, they need the Adderall. They need a way to control their hyperactive thoughts, right? God forbid they figure out a way to do it on their own. God forbid there's a stress on knowledge of self and learning how to deal with these things. God forbid that. You wouldn't want that. You need to drug them. You got to drug them. If you're not drugging them, then they're just going to do it on their own. They're going to figure it out on their own. And you don't want that. You don't want people to realize that they can do things on their own, that they don't need a system or a government or somebody to help them. You don't want that. You got to make them believe that they need it. They need it. You need the Adderall. And that's what we've done so well with so many products. And that's why Adderall is at the top of the list. So many people take Adderall. Of course, they're prescribed to people with, they have attention deficit problems, right? Which is weird, right? Attention deficit. Your attention is below par. Well, what am I supposed to be paying attention to? Well, I mean, the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. Okay, that's what you need to know about. You need to know about y equals mx plus b. Okay, and when you get older, you got to know about spreadsheets. You got to know which numbers to put in which boxes. You got to know how to file things. You got to know you got to know where to cut the pipe the right way. You got to know how to do these things, and you'll never be able to pay attention to these mundane, soulless, brainless tasks. Not so much the trades. There's a soft spot in my heart for trades because there's some of the jobs that actually it's obviously manual labor, a little more respectable in my mind. Okay, because there is a creative aspect to it. Obviously, you're not creating things, but you're fixing things. You're at least doing something that's a credit to the community. But if you're in school, or if you're in an office type setting, in any capacity, you're a broker, you're whatever, right? You're whatever the fuck you are. But you work in an office. You're probably going to need some Adderall because what you're doing is just, mindless, stupid tasks that really, it's just busy work, right? Like I said, I've said this plenty of times, I've never worked in an office, not for longer than like 5 days, and there's really not much to do. You just do stupid shit, you play on your computer, whatever. You finish your work. What about this? When you finish your work, you can't fuck off, right? You can't fuck off. You finish your work and you can't fuck off. What is that? I'm just supposed to hang out here and pretend like I'm enthused to do this type of thing? Of course you need drugs. Of course you're going to need a drug to do this, right? People act like this is normal. People act like these things are normal to do, to not be stimulated in the brain. You follow what I'm saying? Obviously, you're not going to pay attention to it. You're gonna sit in meetings with a bunch of people who are richer than you or on the same level, right? And you're all gonna sit there and listen and kiss the bosses. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, yeah, great idea, boss. Uh-huh. Don't say the wrong thing. Don't say the wrong thing. You might get sent home early. You might get fired. You might get demoted. You might get written up. Don't get written up. That's the scariest term for people who work in a setting like that. Don't get written up. You're going to get written up. You're an adult. You're going to go to the principal's office. Your evaluation is going to suffer. Don't you want your evaluation to be good? Because after 12 evaluations, you might get a 3% raise. You might go from 20 to $21.50 an hour. I mean, you don't want to get written up, guys. You don't want to get written up. You don't want to do your job incorrectly. So, take the drug. Take the Adderall. You got to do it. You got to do it, guys. fucking lights. Now the lights are on, and it looks awfully yellow. It looks terrible. See, that's what I'm saying, man. I hate it. Soon things are going to look different in here. I'm getting rid of this couch. I'm probably going to have a desk. Things are going to look nicer. But who else takes Adderall? Who else takes it? College kids, right? College kids. A similar situation. You're in school for something that you think you want to do, and you might want to do it. You know, you might be there for something that you're really interested in. And but what happens in college is you get mixed in with trying to be an adult, trying to get things done. But you're a child. You're only a few years removed from high school. Everybody is getting fucked up all the time. So you want to keep up. You want to be able to get your shit done. Cram hard. You can't cram if you don't take Adderall. You can't shove this information that you're going to forget about shortly after the test, right? Shortly after the test or the presentation or the paper is written, it's probably going to be gone, right? You won't bring it with you into the real world no matter what job you get, because undergrad, none of that stuff is used in, real world jobs. It's good to have a base knowledge and whatever, but you don't need me to tell you that. I know some of you guys, you learned some shit in school. You might have even kept your books, you kept your notebooks, you kept all these things just in case your boss comes up to you and asks you a question about whatever the fuck, and you're like, well, let me take a look in my notebook. And then you realize all that shit is nothing. All the shit that you worked so hard on, you got an Adderall addiction for, it's barely used. It's just knowledge that was there and it went. Came and went. That's all it is. And that's all it ever was. But in order to get through college and to get it done, you got to take something. Unless you want to be an absolute loser, right? If you just want to be a guy who studies and does nothing else, right? And even just to study. I mean, fuck, I didn't take any Adderall in college, and I wish I did. I probably would have done better. That's one of my regrets, is not doing enough Adderall. I took Adderall one time when I want to say I was in high school. I was a senior. I think I was driving. Yeah, totally. It was in high school, and I had a buddy that has ADHD, and I was like, yo, I want to try Adderall, and he sold me a couple, and it did nothing. I took it, and it did nothing. I sat there, and I wasn't focused. All these people were saying, you get focused, you get things done, but it didn't work for me. But it's good timing. It's good timing because, again, people need Adderall. And the closest substitute seems to be cocaine, okay? Like I said, I've done Adderall once. I've never done coke, but everybody says it's very similar. Adderall is like sanctioned cocaine, just like Xanax is sanctioned heroin, Oxy, sanctioned heroin. It's like, it's like any of the other drugs. It's just there to be made money on. It's because obviously these government systems, these organizations, they're not dumb. They know people are going to do drugs. They know it. They know people are going to do drugs. You can't hang out with a guy that's getting money. You can't see a guy he's right over there. He's getting tons of money, whatever he's doing. If that guy's selling hot dogs on the corner, he's making a ton of money. Soon enough, you're going to start selling hot dogs on the corner, making a ton of money, right? That's what it is. That's why Prohibition didn't last, because the mafia was raking it in, and the government saw it. They're like, yeah, these motherfuckers, we made it illegal, and they got a business going. This is an entire business. NASCAR was created because of moonshining and Prohibition. Once they realize that, they're like, whoa. This is a whole new market. we can make something happen here. We can do something big here. And that's where we get the big pharma, the drug companies, the drug commercials, commercials for drugs. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that nuts? If you just went up to somebody and said, did you see that new commercial for that drug? They'd be like, what are you talking about? What drug? They don't have commercials for drugs. What do you mean? I'm like, yeah, that new Chantix, or this one or that one, whatever fucking drug. They'd be like, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Because drug has such a negative connotation until there's a doctor involved or a prescription involved, a pharmacy, That's what it is. That's what people, if they were able to do commercials about, actual meth, right? People would be appalled. They'd say, oh my God, what is this? A commercial for meth? This is actually a commercial for meth. At the end of it, it says, buy meth. What is this? What kind of commercial is this? People would go, oh, this is insane. A commercial for something like this? And then the next commercial is, Budweiser or, some other shit, right? Some other drug that you barely know what it does. It'll be on the market, and then so many years there'll be a commercial. Have you or a loved one used X and have been diagnosed with fucking jaundice? Okay, that's what happens. So much of the shit that gets passed to go on the shelves and by the FDA, so much of that shit ends up getting recalled anyway. So brings me back to my initial point. Give everybody cocaine. 1,500 pounds of cocaine, that's not enough to fill the Adderall shortage, but at least in the area, right, in Texas, they could give little dibs and dabs out to people just to get them through their day. Production's going to be down, guys. ACT scores are the lowest they have been in a very long time. It might be the lowest they've ever been. Mainly because kids were at home learning and the whole thing. But if you want to bridge that gap, we need to get the drugs to them. We need to get them drugs. And this is tough. This is a tough squeeze because there's no Adderall. The kids are dumber. And they're only going to get dumber if they can't get the Adderall. This is it's like a snowball effect. So to mitigate it, bring the coke in. Get it on the baby wipes. Get them out to people. Get the kids accustomed to having really wide blue eyes that they normally wouldn't have unless they were doing cocaine. Get them used to their minds and their hearts moving faster than it ever has. Just get them used to it while we figure out this Adderall shortage. Once we figure out how we can make more of this drug. Because if not, guys, production is going to go down, the kids are going to get dumber, and things are only going to get worse from here. The solution, again, has been and always will be drugs. That's it. That's it, guys. No matter what you say, you will be hard-pressed to find a person walking down the street that does not have some kind of vice in some way. Something that can be considered a drug. You'd be hard-pressed. Whether it's a substance, whether it's an action, whether it's anything, right? Because an addiction or a drug doesn't need to be a substance, right? People are sex addicts, right? Their drug is having sex. Gambling, right? Those are the two big ones as far as non-substances go. Those are the two big ones, So, and for other people, it's exercise, right? Some people can't get through their day without exercise. They can't make anything happen unless they're exercising. And that's a good one. That's a very good one. But it's going to be very hard to find somebody that has no... That's part of life, guys. It's part of life to have something that gets you through the day. Whether it has positive or negative effects on your body or your financial situation or your mental state, that's, subjective, right? That could be anything, right? Some people, they can't do anything in the morning unless they got a cup of coffee. Some people, they meditate. These are all forms of coping mechanisms. All of them, right? And the easiest ones are drugs. We're a drug-loving culture. We are. We're a drug-loving culture, but we pick the ones. We're very strange because we pick certain ones. You know, we've been conditioned to believe that the ones that are made by massive corporations who are trying to turn over a massive profit, we are convinced that those are the ones that are better for us. Those are the ones that they got our best interests at heart. They just want us to focus. They just want us to get our dicks hard. They just want to get our blood pressure down, guys. They want us to relax. That's what it is. Don't use the drugs that you enjoy. Don't use the drugs that are better for you. You know? This is the old Hicks argument. There's better drugs and better drugs for you, and he's right. Okay? But that's what it is. Don't feel ashamed if you have a vice. Everyone has a vice. Everyone has a mechanism to help them get through the day. And for a lot of young kids, for a lot of adults who struggle with attention problems, the whole thing, they use Adderall. They use something, you know? But really, you should grow up and just start doing blow. If you get to a certain age, just throw the Adderall away and just start doing the booger sugar. I don't do either, so I'm happy. I don't need to worry about it. I'm not affected by something like this. My addictions are coffee. I like nicotine, this fucking thing. Obviously, weed, you know. All great things. Alcohol, lovely. I wouldn't say I'm addicted to alcohol, but it is nice, you know. Some things are just nice. Some things you just want to do them. They're nice. Whatever, you know. I just hope they figure this out. And if they don't, then, like I said, there's going to be mayhem. There's going to be problems with production. Things are going to be down. Things are going to be down. And that's when the robots take over. This is what it is. This is what's happening. The Adderall shortage is going to lead to the AI takeover. And in that same vein, I don't know if you guys, I don't know if this is even public to people, but there was an AI, I guess, system that put together a Joe Rogan podcast with Steve Jobs, who of course is dead. But AI is magic, right? Every time I hear something about AI, it's damn near magic. It's just magic. They bring people back from the dead. You can, you can see your grandmother when she was a young woman. You know, if you lost a leg in the war, you can get AI to give you a leg. Like, it is nothing short of magic, okay? AI is fucking modern day sorcery, if we're being honest, and people should be burnt at the stake. But they went ahead and they did they were able to make a conversation somehow between Steve Jobs and Joe Rogan, which, by the way, would be a great, if it was something that could happen in real life, that would be awesome. And I want to read to you what the conversation involved, because it was interesting. An AI program generated a fake interview between podcaster Joe Rogan and Apple founder Steve Jobs. The software drew on past recordings of Rogan and Jobs, who died in 2011, to project a 20-minute simulation of what a conversation between them would sound like. The duo never met. During the conversation, Rogan calls Jobs a memory from the past, and Jobs incorrectly stated, "It's been a long time since I've been on the show." Jobs talked about Buddhism and LSD, saying it reveals you for who or what you are. They also joked about throwing their Macs out the window. Now that would be oh wait, hold on. Let's hear it together. I haven't heard this yet. This is a snippet from the AI Rogan Jobs interview. Hold on.
Swayze and Demi Moore and like Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore and Ghost. You're a memory from the past. So without further ado, my friend who is difficult to describe and wonderful, and I'm so grateful he came on the show.
How's it going? Good to see you, buddy. It's been a long time since I've been on the show. I've missed this. It's always fun.
How's it going? Come on, tell me about Jobs. It's always good to see you, buddy. I'm so happy you came on, man.
Yeah, it's great to be on the show. Your audience is just so different from your normal Apple users, and that's a good thing. It's cool.
Well, I was an Apple user way before I did this show. I've been a fan of yours, Macintosh, since like Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. And
What the fuck? That was genuinely creepy. I hope you guys were able to hear that and understand how genuinely fucking creepy that actually was. That sounded so fucking weird. That was weird. That was what are we letting these nerds do? These nerds are literally going to fuck us. Soon enough, all of our content is going to be generated by AI. It's going to be generated by AI, and it's going to be dead people. We're going to be listening to dead people. When Joe Rogan is dead, they will be able to resurrect him, and we'll have podcasts forever and ever with people he's never met. It is going to be some of the most sinister and disgusting content, because that was weird. That was fucking so, like, how dystopian. I mean, we're headed for Fahrenheit 451. We're headed for Fallout and some of the scariest shit. If that's what's coming, people who've never met, a guy who's dead, speaking to each other in a way that sounds, it sounds artificial. It's, of course, artificial intelligence, but it sounds incredibly artificial. Like that. And the technology is only going to get better, guys. It's only going to get better. We're going to get to a point where it'll sound absolutely flawless. It'll sound like Rogan and Jobs are talking to each other like I'm talking to you. Like if I was talking to somebody else. It'll sound damn near flawless. And that is fucking scary. That is scary. Think about how shitty Hollywood is right now. Hollywood, movies are coming back. I actually wanted to catch a movie today. There's some movies that are good, but most of what Hollywood's doing right now is just remaking everything because it's just that's where the money is. That's where the money is. When this type of technology gets in the hands of a Disney or a WME or whatever, one of these big corporate fucking content machines, things are going to get very disgusting, and they're going to get completely oversaturated, and people are going to love it. You sick, uncultured swine are going to be lining up around the block to watch Roadhouse 15 with Patrick Swayze as the main character still. Okay? You sick fucks are going to jump up and down when you see an artificial intelligence generated sequel to Saturday Night Fever. You sick sons of bitches. Just wait. This is going to get gross. This is going to get gross. This is going to get disgusting. And here's the thing, guys. People will not have to be creative anymore. If this gets as big as I'm alluding to, people won't have to be creative. All they'll have to do is get one of these systems and think, what would be interesting? Let's do Julius Caesar talks to Gilbert Godfrey, and let's listen to that. And people will tune in. Once a system like that gets mainstream, children are going to hop on that. And children, whatever their trend is what's going to happen in the future, because when they get older, that's what they grew up on, the whole fucking thing. Just like now, right? So when kids are in school, when I was in school and there was nothing to do, you go on 123 Games or addictinggames.com or miniclip.com, and you fuck around on there, you play games until the teacher says it's time to go. After everything's done, there's a little free time. Kids aren't going to do that. Think about how much fun you can have with a thing like that. I want to have Hulk Hogan and 50 Cent get into an argument. I want to have Hulk Hogan be a racist fuck and yell at 50 Cent. Okay? That's what people are going to do. There's going to be a whole genre of comedy, right? Let's resurrect Richard Pryor. What would Richard Pryor say about today? Everyone always says if Carlin was around, he'd have a ton of material. Just wait, motherfuckers. Wait till they figure out how to get a new special made by George Carlin. What everyone thinks he would say. People are going to tune in. It's disgusting, guys. This is part of the scary dystopian future that people are very worried about, okay? I'm not saying that people are sitting there, oh, God, what's going to happen? No. And realistically, when it happens, people are going to be so ready for it, they're going to have no choice but to embrace it. It's just like texting, because I remember when I was a kid, we never got a phone plan where we included texts. It wouldn't work. We didn't, my family just didn't do it. It was too much money, whatever. And I went a pretty long time without having a phone with internet or a phone with text or whatever. But eventually, everybody just falls in line. Everybody does it. And, I mean, if you invite a friend over and you're like, hey, I just got this, let's watch this movie. Let's watch Pulp Fiction. You remember Pulp Fiction? We should watch Pulp Fiction. And he's going to go, no, buddy, listen. You need this system, okay? I got Pulp Fiction 2 at home, okay? It's way cooler than this one. It's way cooler. And that's what it's going to be. It's just going to be cooler. You want to watch old movies? I can make a movie. I can make any movie I want. I could do whatever the fuck I want. That's what this AI is going to, and it's going to be so creepy and so strange until it's not. And then everyone's going to comply, and it's going to be normal, and everyone's going to be okay. Everybody. So in short, everybody's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. Things are fine. Things are okay. Everyone's going to be good. Everybody is going to be good in the long run. It's going to get a little ugly. People are going to get nervous. Jobs are going to be lost. Content is going to be strange. But it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. I'm a guy who values, I don't know, artistic merit or, people who are able to be creative. I don't know. It's an old ideal. It's going to go away quicker than I can wipe my ass. I don't know. It's going, and people are going to be fine because most people don't care. Most people are going to look at that and say, oh, that's pretty cool. Nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Pass the marinara, would you? I got to dip my cheesy breadsticks in them. Pass that over here while we listen to this simulated conversation between Joe Rogan and Steve Jobs. Come on. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Wow. So many people that's what's going to happen. Because most people don't care. That's what it is, guys. Most people don't care. Most of you that I'm telling you this, most of you that are listening, I'm telling you this, and you're like, who gives a fuck? Right? Who cares? And you're right. Who cares? Nobody. Nobody will. And when they do, it's always too late. So, fuck it. Have fun. I hope it comes earlier. I hope it does. We can have Led Zeppelin again. We can have a new Led Zeppelin album. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be good? The band will get back together. We can have a Beatles fucking record with John Lennon in it. The band's back together. You can create anything you want. Doesn't need to be original. Doesn't need to be anything. Just take shit from the past, mix it in with the present, and you'll be fine. Anyway, guys, I think I've badgered you enough. We covered some fun things, some very fun things. Hopefully we figure out the drug shortage. Commend your local house inspector, okay? Because this gentleman from Michigan, he's a hard worker, sick fuck, but a hard worker, was able to go back to work. Some of you guys could take a page out of his book from, jerking off at work, and instead of calling out the rest of the day, you stay dedicated. You stay dedicated. That's your job. And be ready for all the Dead People podcasts and content coming soon. Speaking of content and podcasts, I think last week I had said to you guys that there would be, I'm supposed to be working on a new podcast for UFC stuff. I'm not sure that that's going to be happening anymore. Realistically, guys, I have so much shit to worry about. Doing this show twice a week, keeping it fresh, keeping it funny, trying to stay on top of it, trying to grow it. It would be too much for me to do a second, kind of rethinking it. Be too much for me to do a second. I'm not completely ruling it out yet. I haven't spoken to the guy. I don't even know if his site is up. Nonetheless, take that information with a grain of salt. I don't know if I'll actually be making that happen. So that's that. Maybe I'll get an AI program and they can do it for me. Dates, Sunday, I will be at the Comedy Connection in Providence, 7:30 p.m. Show up, show out. If you show up and buy a ticket, tell them you're there to see me. I need people to show up for me. November 11th, I'm doing, before that, I booked a new show. I said November 11th. Oh, fuck, okay. Sorry, November 11th, I'm going to Maine. I'm doing a show in Maine. Nobody's going to go see me there. That's fine. I don't need people to show up. And then the 17th, I'm doing Revival Brewery in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And that's going to be a lot of fun. So that's it, motherfuckers. Talk to you on Monday. Peace. Oh, me again. Follow the show. Subscribe on the YouTube. Buy me a coffee. Use the links. Bye-bye.